Activity and rest. What is my relation with action and inaction? Action depends upon inaction, and inaction upon action for their very existence. This is impossible, and so both are non-existent as such. Therefore, I stand transcending both. Any particular feeling pursued to its very source suddenly disappears, and you will be thrown unawares into your real nature of peace. How is activity and inactivity related to truth? From inactivity, you cannot get to the beyond without something active coming to your help. But from the active sphere, you can rise straight to the ultimate, merely by understanding it correctly. Can you speak of peace and the activities of body and mind? One can be said to be perfectly healthy in body and mind only if no part of the body or mind makes itself felt. A part makes itself felt only when there is something wrong with it. You know that you have a head only when it aches. You know things in the waking and dream states by separating them from yourself. That is when duality comes in. So, in the case of the healthy man, the body and mind continue to function smoothly without making any one of them especially felt. And in this way, he remains in a state of external peace, short-lived though it may be. But in deep sleep, you stand in your own glory, when neither the body nor the mind comes in to disturb your real nature of peace. Even with phenomenal knowledge at the moment of knowing, you stand in identity with the object, in perfect non-duality. It is only subsequently that you import thought and separate the thing known. When there is identity, thought or recognition is impossible. All this is concerning the involuntary experience of peace which one has occasionally, though this peace depends upon the incidental subsidence of activity. This is made permanent and independent of the presence or absence of activities in the case of the Jivan Mukta, by his conscious experience of the nature of peace, which is his own self. The apparent activities of his body, senses, and mind do not disturb the tranquility of his true nature. Can you speak on consciousness and activity? Consciousness is always your center in all your activities. This fact is only to be understood and not to be thought of during the activity itself. It will hamper your activity and sometimes even stop it if you think of consciousness during the activity. So think about consciousness therein, which is your own nature, only after the activity is over and when you are free. But before the activity, you can take the vague thought, avoiding all details, that consciousness is the background of all activity. How to keep my center during activity? The different spheres of an ordinary man's experiences are doing, perceiving, thinking, feeling, and last of all, knowing. The first four kinds of activities are always changing, and the last one alone is changeless. Whenever you have an experience of any of the first four types, ask yourself the question, to whom is it that the particular experience occurs? You will see without any difficulty that it is not to the ultimate I principle, but only to the one of its four mediums or instruments. Then why do you worry about them in the least? Know that you are the knower, always at your center, and be at peace. What more is needed? The instrument and the background can be represented as shown. The doing, perceiving, thinking, and feeling are the media or instruments. And the pure I principle or consciousness is the background. What is the relative importance of activities? Usually, man has three different kinds of activities: perceiving, thinking, and knowing. The first two being false, and the last one alone real. Invariably, the first two, perceiving and thinking, of these false activities are recognized in worldly transactions. And the last, but real activity is sadly ignored, though the word knowing is used indiscriminately. The Vedantin proves and shows you that even the first two false activities owe their very existence to the third one. You must always bear in mind that when knowledge dawns, perception and thinking vanish. Can you talk about acting knowingly? This is the practical instruction by which the I is visualized. In all human activities, there is a fundamental difference between the words expressed and the actual activity. The words I see him and I hear him are quite in order. But in the activity proper, the first and most important part, I, is lamentably ignored, and the activity or objectivity part alone is emphasized. This is responsible for all bondage. The only means to liberation is to fill the omission you have so ignorantly made. In all your daily activities, try to bring the I to the forefront. If you succeed in doing this, you have gone a long way towards visualizing the I. When you do this exercise for some time, you will find that you are that changeless principle in all activity, and that the activities themselves change every moment. This clearly proves that action, perception, thought, and feeling do not go into your nature at all. The activities of the ignorant man, or the objective part of them, usually cloud the I principle of consciousness in him. But this exercise removes all possibility of such clouding of the I principle, since the I is emphasized every moment. My role is to remain changeless in the midst of incessant change, or to be unaffected by all opposites like happiness and misery. To make this possible, one has to understand that one is beyond all opposites and that one is neither the doer nor the enjoyer. When you say every activity belongs to you, it means that nothing belongs to you in fact, or that I am Svarupa, true nature, without their touching my true nature. What should I emphasize in my activities? Every man has three distinct and progressive perspectives of the world, through the senses, mind, and consciousness. Through the senses, you perceive only gross objects. As you transcend the first and reach the second stage, you perceive only subtle objects or ideas. In the last stage, everything appears as consciousness. The Guru wants you only to recognize and emphasize sufficiently this last perspective of consciousness. If you succeed in doing at least this much after listening to the truth from the Guru, you will without a doubt get established in reality. Emphasis on any or both of the first two perspectives, the senses and mind, ties you down as a jiva, or a personalized ego. What about the activities of the ignorant man, the sadhak or spiritual aspirant, and how that ties in with jivan mukta? An activity has two parts, the material part and the knowledge part. No activity is possible unless it is recorded in knowledge. The ignorant man, in his perceptions, ignores the knowledge part and emphasizes only the material object part. The spiritual aspirant tries in the beginning to emphasize at least equally the knowledge part and the material part, and towards the end of his sadhana gives more emphasis to the knowledge part than to the material. The jivan mukta at heart ignores the material part completely and recognizes or emphasizes only the knowledge part. But knowingly, he appears to emphasize the material part as well. What about the subject and object in activity? In every activity, there is only the object and no subject. Examine any activity. There seems to be two eyes functioning simultaneously. The ego or apparent I as the doer, and the I principle or pure consciousness, the real I, as the knower. The first one, the former, is ever changing, and consciousness is never changing. Therefore, I am always the knower and never the doer. Thus, there is no doer or subject, and there is only action without an actor. The real I principle as consciousness is present in all action. You believe that an actor or subject is indispensable for every action, and therefore you conclude that the I principle is acting. Really, the I principle is not concerned with the acting at all. Thus, you are no doer, enjoyer, or perceiver, but only the knower. At every step, the presence of consciousness is absolutely necessary in all thoughts, feelings, and sensations. This consciousness is unconcerned with the object or the activity. For further corroboration, you may examine the deep sleep state. You had no thinking, feeling, or sensation in deep sleep. Therefore, the I principle consciousness, pure consciousness, alone was there.